Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the sources you send us, articles, recipes, maybe some research notes, and really dig in.
Yep, we sift through it all to find the core insights, the really useful stuff.
And hopefully connect some dots along the way.
Exactly.
So today, we're tackling something delicious. Garlic shrimp spaghetti.
A classic. We've got a good mix of sources from you all, different recipes, some thoughts on why it's such a hit, some neat tips.
So our mission basically is to use these sources to figure out what makes it a go-to. How do you actually make a good one?
And what are the interesting twists people put on it? It's all coming straight from the material you shared.
Yeah, what's interesting is how it seems so simple, so quick, but there's actually quite a bit of room for doing things differently, different takes on it.
Definitely. Okay, so let's start with the why. Why do people love this dish so much, according to these sources? Several called it a flavor bomb.
Oh yeah, I mean garlic, butter, lemon, shrimp.
Yeah.
It's inherently good, isn't it?
Yep.
Simple stuff, big taste.
And the speed factor.
Yeah.
That came up a lot.
Right, big time. Some sources said 15 minutes, others maybe at up to 25. Either way, that's fast.
Perfect for a weeknight, absolutely.
But it doesn't feel like a quick throw-together meal, does it? It's got that comforting, glossy sauce thing going on.
But it also feels a bit elegant. You could serve it to guests.
Totally. It hits that sweet spot. Comforting and a little bit special.
And the sources also highlighted how versatile it is. You can easily change things up.
Which we'll definitely get into. Plus, the cleanup factor. Often one pan, maybe one pot for the pasta. That's a huge win.
Can't argue with that. So, okay, let's move from why people like it to how you make it, based on the more traditional recipes you sent. Starts with the pasta, obviously.
Right, spaghetti. Cook it in plenty of salty water. And a really key tip from a couple of sources, especially that feel-good foodie one, was cook it al dente. Like really al dente.
Because it keeps cooking later, right? When you toss up the hot sauce.
Exactly. If it's already fully cooked, it just turns to mush.
And the other crucial bit, reserve some pasta water before you drain.
Yes, don't forget that. We saw different amounts mentioned, maybe half a cup.
One set of full cup, just to be safe. But you need some. It's got that starch, helps make the sauce creamy and, stick to the pasta.
Okay, pasta's handled. Next up, the shrimp, peeled, deveined, and then what?
Pat them dry, like really dry. Paper towels. Multiple sources emphasize this.
Why is that so important?
Well, especially if they're thawed frozen shrimp, they hold a lot of water. If they're wet, they steam in the pan instead of searing. You won't get that nice pink color or texture.
Okay. Makes sense. Then season them. Salt and pepper.
Yeah, salt and pepper is standard. One source mentioned adding red pepper flakes right here for a bit of heat from the start.
Got it. Then into the pan, large skillet, medium or medium-high heat.
Sounds right, with some fat.
Yeah.
Butter and olive oil was one option, just butter was another. Get it hot.
And cook the shrimp fast. Single layer.
Super fast. This was a big warning in the sources. Do not overcook them.
All right, they go rubbery in like a second.
Exactly. Just until they turn opaque pink, maybe, 1 to 2 minutes aside?
Or 2-3 minutes total, another source said.
Yeah.
Basically, watch them like a hawk.
Then, crucially, take them out of the skillet. Set them aside.
Right, so they don't keep cooking while you make the sauce.
Precisely. Okay, same skillet, residual fat. Now the sauce base.
Garlic time. Minced garlic goes in. Saute it just until it smells amazing, right? Like a minute?
Yeah, about a minute. And be careful here, don't let it brown. Burnt garlic is bitter, not good.
Nope. Some sources said add more red pepper flakes here if you want that kick in the sauce itself.
Okay, and then the liquids. Lemon juice, that reserved pasta water.
Ah, wait. This is where that feel-good foodie source had that really specific, interesting tip.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
It said turn the heat off before adding the lemon juice, pasta water, and Parmesan if you're using it.
Oh, that is interesting. Why?
To stop the cheese from clumping. Apparently, the slightly lower temperature helps it melt smoothly when you whisk it in instead of seizing up.
Huh. That's smart. Addresses a really common problem. Okay, so heat off, add lemon juice, how much? Saw different amounts.
Yeah, one said juice of half a lemon, another gave like 2 tablespoons. Probably depends on taste.
And the pasta water. Whisk it all together.
Then add the cooked spaghetti back into that skillet. One recipe also added the rest of its butter at this point.
Right. And toss, toss, toss. Get that pasta coated. The sauce should look glossy.
And this is where you might add more of that reserved pasta water, right? If it looks dry.
Exactly. Add it splash by splash until it's got that nice creamy consistency that clings.
Perfect. Then finally, shrimp go back in.
Just to warm through. Gentle toss. Check your seasoning, salt, pepper, maybe more lemon.
And then serve it up. Garnish with fresh parsley, maybe some extra Parmesan. Done.
Sounds pretty straightforward, but those little details, those tips from the sources seem to make a difference.
Yeah, let's revisit some of those key practical tips that are worth highlighting.
Definitely. The al dente thing, understanding why, is key. It's not just an instruction, it's about managing how the pasta cooks overall.
And the shrimp prep, thawing properly if frozen and drying, really drying them, that impacts the sear.
Absolutely makes a huge difference versus just, throwing wet shrimp in the pan.
And we said it before, but it bears repeating. Don't overcook the shrimp. Opaque pink. That's the goal.
Seriously. It happens so fast.
It was also interesting how the sources talked about creaminess. The standard uses butter and pasta water for that lighter, glossy finish.
Right, which seems to be the preference, but they acknowledge you could add milk or cream if you wanted something richer, heavier. Options exist.
And that tip about turning off the heat for the cheese, that feels like a game changer for smooth sauce.
It's one of those small things that elevates the technique, shows an understanding of the ingredients.
So beyond the basic recipe and those core tips, the sources really showed how adaptable this dish is. It's like a blank canvas.
Totally. You can easily throw in vegetables, spinach towards the end, cherry tomato.
Yeah, wilt in some spinach or maybe saute some cherry tomatoes earlier. Adds color, nutrition.
Or make it richer. A splash of white wine, maybe. Or cream, like we mentioned.
And some sources included comments where people mentioned adding basil or even, get this, truffle oil.
Wow, okay. Truffle oil. Shows how far people take it. It can handle a lot of different flavors.
Even the pasta shape isn't fixed. Spaghetti or linguine are classic, sure.
But penne, shells, they'd work fine too, especially with extra ingredients. One source mentioned a whole grain pasta for more fiber.
But the most different variation we saw came from that Marion's Kitchen source, the Asian twist.
Oh, right. That was fascinating. A true fusion approach.
Yeah, it keeps the shrimp, garlic, pasta idea, but the flavors are completely different.
The key thing there was that spring onion pesto, wasn't it?
Yeah, which isn't really pesto like Italian pesto. It's spring onions, ginger, salt, pounded together.
In a mortar and pestle, and then the technique.
Right. You pour hot oil, vegetable, and sesame oil over that paste. It sizzles and kind of flash cooks it. Intense aroma.
Sounds amazing. And the sauce in the pan is different too. Still has oil, garlic, chili.
But instead of lemon and Parmesan, it uses soy sauce and oyster sauce.
So you get that deep, savory umami thing going on. Totally different profile from the bright, lemony classic.
And the pasta goes into that sauce to soak up the, what did the source call it? The salty goodness.
Huh, yeah. Love that. Then you mix in the spring onion mixture near the end.
The goal there, the source said, was really about flavorful shrimp and garlic with chili just as an accent, letting the soy and ginger and spring onion shine.
It's a complete reinterpretation, really, using similar building blocks but heading in a totally different culinary direction.
Shows the range, doesn't it? From weeknight staple to this creative fusion idea.
So serving suggestions were pretty simple in the sources.
Yeah, keep it easy. Caesar salad, garlic bread, things that won't fight with the main dish.
Makes sense. And leftovers. Best fresh, apparently.
Right. But you can store it. Airtight container, fridge, maybe 3 days max.
Good to know.
So that's our journey through the sources on garlic shrimp spaghetti. We went from understanding why it's so loved to the nuts and bolts of making it.
Right through to those practical tips that make a difference, and then into the really creative variations like that Asian fusion take.
It's pretty cool how a dish based on essentially garlic, butter, shrimp, and pasta can be so quick, so flavorful.
And yet also be this springboard for so much variation and creativity, depending on, the approach and the source you're looking at.
So here's something to chew on, thinking about these sources. How much impact do those seemingly small details like really drying the shrimp or that heat-off trick for the cheese actually have on the final dish? Does paying attention to that stuff really make a noticeable difference?
And maybe also, how do those completely different flavor profiles, like the soy oyster sauce versus the lemon parmesan, show different ideas about what tastes good, even when you're starting with pretty similar core ingredients like shrimp and garlic? Thinking about the why behind it all,